All right, everybody, we're going to unveil the sign here for the Peste Park. Let's do a big countdown. Let's count down from 5. Here we go. 5. We present to you the historic G. Peste Farm, established in 1909.
Well, thank you all for coming. I'm Dick Taylor. I'm the chairman of the Port Commission. You know, we started this thing, back in the winter of 2022 when the Peste family came to us and said, we farmed this land and homesteaded it back at the turn of the century, the last century, not this one. And we'd like to celebrate our family heritage here, and maybe name a street after the Peste family. And they brought this to the Port Commission, and we talked about it, and we were interested in doing something. A street naming had some problems because it causes logistics problems with the people whose addresses are changed and all that sort of thing. And so we were discussing it, we, the commission, and the family, and we thought maybe, how about a building? Let's name a building after the family. And I thought, yeah, that's fine. But let's go a little bit further. Let's name a whole industrial park after the family. And let's name it after the area where the homestead was. And we as a commission came together with that, and that's what we decided we were going to do and pick this spot. Back in the spring of 23, we purchased the signs and did all that sort of. They put up the signs that notified it, and they're up. They've been up since 2023, announcing the Peste Park. And then in July of 23, we discussed with the family what kind of memorial would we put in. What do we need? What do we want to do? And they got together with Forrest Cooper, and he came up with this plan. This is his plan, and we're delighted to see it. It is absolutely beautiful. Port staff created the culvert here, the walkway, and the little memorial area here. That's all due to the troops here on the port, and I'm eternally grateful to them and their prowess and expertise in doing something like that. So here we are. And we are delighted to have the family here, and we're delighted to name this area the Peste Industrial Park. Thank you.
First, I just want to say what an amazing thing to have a port who will look at history across time in a place and what's happened, and then say, okay, let's do something here. And so I want to start with saying thank you to those 3 port commissioners, Christy Beck, Dick Taylor, and at the time, Sue Patterson. And Dale, we'll come back to you later for something more. Dale, who's now a commissioner, and thank you for being here. And as we think about thank yous, I just want to also say from the family, thank you for Laura for kicking this off, because we talked about it for so many years, and many of us looked at what to do to come to the port and talk to the chamber, and Laura did it. And she did so much research, and from there we continued to research so that it would get right. We didn't want to put something on a sign that wasn't correct. And so thank you, Laura, because you were such a big part of all of this. So the port. I think about, the port's mission and, prosperity and community and what makes a community. And I think some of the things that come to mind for me is that being a community means being part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what Shelton is. And we're not just the only family. There are so many families that go back generations. And you look at this place, and it was originally, tribes had it, and then a family from Shelton had it, and then the Peste family bought it, and they farmed it. And so the land, it went from farming, and then World War II hit, and then they needed this for a naval base. So the family then was displaced, but understood how important it was to be part of that bigger effort. So they moved, and now here we are back to it being a business center with the port, and it seems very full circle. So thank you again to the port, of course to great-grandparents and Grandpa Fred and Dorothy, his sister, and then Fred, who just continued with Christmas trees and rhododendrons, and Grandma Lillian with the hospital here, and Aunt Marlene, who did so much in the community, and Aunt Shirley, of course, in Olympia as well. But Aunt Marlene here was part of the Mason General Board and really helped to get the Olympic College Center for Children. So she's not here today, but she has family here that know all that she's done in this community, and certainly we know. The other thing about community is in the innovation. So here we have such innovation again here. I mean, back when the Pestes had a farm, it was a place for the first Fordson tractor and new ways of technology. And then Grandpa Peste with Christmas trees. It was all new ways of growing trees. And then here we are again, and there's so many businesses here that are innovative. So again, it just feels very full circle. And it drives the groundbreaking for new ways and for the greater good. And then I do have to just talk about Mom, because she is such an inspiration. So Mom, at 86, well, first of all, we were going to wear the same jacket, and then I gave up mine because she wanted to wear that jacket. But who wears the same clothes as her 86-year-old mother? She's hip. I follow. But her optimism, her creativity, the courage and resilience, the adaptability and persistence that she has, those are her traits, but they were her sister's traits. They were her parents' traits. They were her grandparents' traits. And, if us and next generations could even have a little bit of that, wow, that's so fabulous. And on that, I have to say, Mom has wanted to skydive for a very long time. So, a couple years ago, Dan, my husband, and Luke and Matthew and I gave her the gift at her birthday to skydive. And then she keeps saying, when is it going to happen? And our boys are wildlands firefighters, so when it's skydiving time, they're out fighting fires. So finally, one of our boys, Luke, had a couple of days off, so it happened very quickly. And we had 4 generations, crazy generations, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes in the air, with Mom, who was leading it. And there were 7 of us, and there were many more that wanted to do it, but just because of the short notice couldn't. So there she is, and here she finishes skydiving. She wants to know, is she the oldest one that's ever done it there, over here at this wonderful place? And certainly, yes, of that and 4 generations as well. And so I thought, check, we now have done it. And she said, I might want to do this every year of my life that I'm alive. So it's that fabulous spirit. And so again, I just want to say, and then also that my dad so wanted this to happen and talked about it for years, about how it would be neat to name something and up here. And he had a really struggle at the end with a neurological disease. So even when he couldn't talk, he'd do thumbs up. And when he heard that it was named, thank you again to the port, he did a double thumbs up. And so he lived to see it, and he's died this last year, so Mom's had a tough time. But the very last thing is Forrest and Amy. I mean, seriously, round of applause. They are the best community members. I don't know how they have time to do anything else besides all of everything that they do. And Forrest, as we talked to him, Mom's the one who said, we got to go see Cooper. And so that's when it started as a bench. And that's all I have to say, because look at it. That's Forrest and his vision going with, pairing with Mom. So thank you all for being here. It means so much. And thank you again to the port and to the chamber, who just supports businesses all throughout our community. So thank you. Enjoy. Forrest is going to finish it up.
Thank you so much to the family and to everybody in the port that helped make this happen. To get a couple big thank yous out of the way, there are a couple of things on this project that we did not actually do, and I got to give thanks to the local businesses that helped us with that. The one is the clear coating on the sign here was done by Extreme Collision, which is less than a mile from here in Shelton. So I want to give them some recognition and a big round of applause. Gary and the folks over there have been so gracious to work with me on some of my crazy ideas that are not your normal automotive-based projects. So they're pretty cool. Then the grounds here, we actually did all the prep ourselves, and we did the concrete work, the forms, but the rock work and the bark, that was all done by Arturo Mendoza's Yard Work, another local company here. And those guys came in last minute and did a wonderful job. So I want to give a big round of applause to Arturo and his crew. And the only other part of this is also the black that you see on all of these pieces here. This is powder coated from Forever Powder Coating, which is actually down in Olympia. And I just wanted to give those guys a big thanks because they did a great job. So now to go over just a little bit of some details here for you, I want everybody to be able to come up and take a look, check out the images and read all the information at your leisure. But I wanted to point out a couple really cool things about this particular project. First off, we try to make designs that are low maintenance and last a very long time. So when Sharon and I started really thinking about the design and what we wanted to do, we knew we wanted to put some photographs on it. But as you've probably seen on other historic displays, photographs have to be done just right on an outdoor sun-based environment to be able to last more than just a few years without fading. So we actually at Cooper Studios came up with a new technique where these photographs are actually laser etched on lacquer coated aluminum panels. So we actually did that in-house here in Shelton. Again, this whole thing, 100% made in Shelton. How cool is that, right? So those photographs are actually really cool. You'll see these cool montages. I worked very close with the family and with Terry to come up with the imagery that we wanted to put on there. And through that process, for me, the history and the historic research is really, really cool and really kind of what is rewarding for me. And there were some things that were very surprising to me. One of them is I never knew that the Navy Auxiliary Air Station Shelton, which is what this was called when the Navy had it, was only one of 2 blimp stations in Washington. The other one, I believe, was up north. I want to say it was Squim or somewhere up there. But that was so cool to realize, oh, wow, we had anti-submarine blimps stationed here in Shelton, which then only was fitting that when the Goodyear blimp retired 10 years ago or whenever it was, this was one of the last stops. How cool is that? There's so much cool history, and everything that the Pestes did here was very cool. We even went as far, like we wanted to find out how was this land used by the natives. And so I reached out to both of our tribes, to the Skokomish and the Squaxin, and it turns out this was a shared territory that was used primarily for hunting and berry picking. So it's pretty cool, and I always want to just remind people when we're thinking about our history here, it's not just our recent history, we also have to honor the traditions of our Native Americans and how they were the stewards of this land for so long. So I encourage everybody to come up, take a look. once again, we actually fabricated these benches, the sign. If you have any questions on how I did it, I'd love to go into details with you. But all the welding and all that stuff was done by us. The carving on the benches, that was all done in-house. So we're very proud of it, and we're so glad to have everybody here. I've had a great time working with the Johnstons. If for those of you who are not family, Sharon is granddaughter of Gottfried Peste, and she actually remembers back when she played as a little girl on the farm on this land. So it's such a special thing to have you here and have you creating this particular project. So we thank you, Sharon.
I have very little to say, really. When I was 3 or 4 is when I can remember out here in the prairie, just running and playing. And that time, nothing ever left my mind from out here. I always wanted something more. And we talked about it through the years to get something more out of this, that the Pestes could have something. They weren't the first, and we weren't the last. But we were here, and we did love the land, and we're still here loving it. So that's about all. I mean, what can I say? It's all been done.
Give her a big round of applause.